What's up, Notjust developers? Welcome back to another live stream. Super excited for today's build that I prepared for you because we're gonna build something really beautiful and eye-catching. Today, we're going to clone the Apple Invites application. So long story short, this month Apple launched a new application called Apple Invites, which allows you to create and host events and send invites to your people. So nothing too revolutionary. However, the way they implemented it in terms of UI and animation, it's really impressive. And today I want to challenge myself and see if we can build this one together. So here is the application. It has like a lot of blurs. It has a lot of animations. You can create events. You can invite people, and that's what we're gonna try to build today. If you're new to React Native, this is a great opportunity for you to learn more about building beautiful UI and also dipping your toes into animations. Today we're gonna learn a lot about animations with React Native Reanimated and also about gesture handling so that we can put together gestures with animations with beautiful UI and then we're gonna have a nice application. Also, everything that you're going to learn today, you can apply to your applications as well. For example, if you're building an event management app or in general, in any application, I think you can learn a lot today and apply and 10x your user experience. The thing that we're going to start with is going to be the welcome screen. And when you just open the application and don't have any events, this is what you are greeted with. Very nice animations with a welcome message and the showcase of different events cards. I think this is a really good onboarding screen. It doesn't involve a lot of onboarding steps. It's just one screen with nice animation that gives you a good understanding of what this application is. And here at the top is an automated scroll view horizontally that we can also interact with and scroll ourselves. But if we release, it automatically slowly moves along. So we're gonna start with this one. Today I spent the whole day preparing just this Marquee component that would do the scrolling, and I'm very excited with how it turned out, and I want to share this with you. Later in the video, we're gonna get into other screens as well if we have time to create the forms, the user interface, the cards, the displays, and so on. So if you're ready, we can get started and let's run the intro. Hello everyone who is joining us live. How are you doing, guys? Hello Rogelio, Aditya, Eric, Vladimir, Adlo, Rui. How are you guys? So let me put this one on the side. We're gonna come back to it a bit later. And now let's go ahead and initialize a new project. I'm gonna open up my terminal. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit. I'm gonna move to my projects, YouTube. This week I've been heavily working on the last project for React Native Mastery, our premium course. Projects YouTube 2025. Here should be 02 invites. And let's go ahead and start initializing a new project. We can do that using Create Expo app, or we can do that with Create Expo Stack, which is an open source utility that helps us bootstrap and initialize a new Expo project. And what I like about it is that it's going to allow me to choose native Wind, and it's going to come pre-configured with native Wind and Expo router. So after we execute this command, we're gonna have to give a name. So let's give it a name, invites. Would you like to use TypeScript? Let's leave yes, yes. Here, let's choose Expo router and a stack navigator, and let's choose native Wind for the styling library. No state management for now, no authentication, and no yes. And just like that, we're gonna have a new fresh project set up with native Wind for styling. If you're new to native Wind, I'm going to explain that in a second, and also with Expo router. So as I was saying, If you haven't already checked it out, React Native Mastery is the course that I've been working for more than a year, and I'm putting all my energy into this course. Now I'm finishing up the last module, but this course is based on 7 different projects. So it's project-based, and it will teach you the tech stack behind the top applications. Here I'm teaching React Native Expo router with TypeScript, of course, Zeus for state management, Tanstack query for remote data, for fetching and caching remote data, Reanimated and gesture handler, which we're gonna use today as well. So 7 different projects, and in the end, you have a lot of projects to put into your portfolio, and you have knowledge to build any kind of React Native applications. So if you're interested, check it out at notjust.dev/React Native Mastery. And meanwhile, our project has finished initializing, and I'm going to open it in Cursor by saying Cursor invites. So Cursor is a fork of Visual Studio Code that has some additional AI features. So nothing more than VS Code, just a couple of things related to AI. And nowadays, I actually find myself using AI to generate code more and more often. And I'm just like looking around and making sure it does what I want it to do. But today I'm going to try to explain as much as possible, stop at things, and help you understand everything that we are doing. Let's go ahead and open a terminal here. And in the terminal, I will do npm start to start the development server. In Expo, this is the Metro server that is executing or bundling our JavaScript side for our application. And now we can either press I to open it on iOS simulator, or A to open it on Android simulator. But for that, you need a little bit of environment setup. So you need Xcode and or Android Studio. If you don't have those, and if this is the first time you're working with Expo, all you have to do is download the Expo Go application from App Store or Play Market on your physical device and scan this QR code, and you're gonna be good to go. You're gonna see the application running directly on your phone. For now, I'm going to use here the emulator so that you can see it as well. And in a second, we should see the first screen. Is that blur view safe to use on Android phones? We're gonna use Expo Blur, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Expo Blur works on Android. Adida is saying, heartily welcome Lucas to the team. Yes, thank you very much. Lucas is preparing the build for next week. So, all right, here we have our home screen, and let me show you a little bit about the files that we're gonna interact the most with. So the app directory, this is one of the most important folders in our project because we are using Expo router, and this is where we're going to define the screens of our application. So this is all about navigation and screens. For example, index from app folder, the index.tsx, this is the home screen. And if you, for example, go ahead and change here to button, you're going to see that the button text updates automatically. Now, another important part is the components folder, where we're gonna build our reusable components. And for example, if I go in index, what you will see is the way we are styling our components. For example, if I'm going to render here a text saying hello world, and I'm going to import text from React Native, usually we style that with objects, for example, color red, and we see it here at the bottom, and maybe font size 30. This is the normal way of styling using JavaScript objects in React Native. However, we're going to use Native Wind. And Native Wind gives us the possibility to use Tailwind CSS classes in React Native. If you have experience with Tailwind, it's going to make perfect sense. If you haven't worked with Tailwind, basically we are using pre-built class names to style our components. For example, in React Native, we're going to do that by passing the class name to our component. And here we're going to use some pre-built components. For example, for color red, we're going to do text red 500. And for font size 30, we're going to do text X or free XL. And now we no longer need the objects because we are going to work with this kind of class names to style our components. If we want the text to be in the center, we can do text center, and that's going to be in the center. If we need some margin, we're going to do M4, and that's going to add margins on all sides. If we only need it horizontally, like we can do MX and so on. Again, if you are new to Tailwind or Native Wind, the way to find out like what classes you are looking for is to go to tailwindcss.com, and here in the search, go ahead and search for something that you need. For example, border radius. How do we do border radius? Well, there is a class name called rounded, small, medium, large, and so on, or rounded full. If I go here and say, hey, this text, I'm gonna do background purple, and I'm not sure if on the text is going to work, but let's try rounded full, rounded dash full. That's going to round the corners of this text. So yeah, anytime you need some classes, go ahead and with the search here, try to find what you're looking for. Like margin, you're gonna go ahead and see here how the utility classes for margin are working. All right, now that we know how to work with Tailwind, let's go ahead and define our first screen in our application, which is going to be the welcome screen. Again, as I said, I want to start working with this screen that is basically the welcome screen that we see whenever we open the application. And initially, as you can see here, that's the home screen. And right at the beginning, we see that the welcome screen is coming from the bottom. So that, and also another onboarding part. I'm going to skip this one, but I'm going to focus on this welcome screen. So we saw that it's not the home screen, it's actually a separate screen that comes up if this is the first time we're using the app. So let's go ahead and do here welcome.tsx and do export default function called welcome screen and return here, let's say a view with a text that will say welcome to the application. Let's go ahead and import view and text from React Native, and I can style it with some class name flex1, item center, and justify center to put the text in the middle. And instead of background white, let's do background a very brown or dark yellow. So I'm gonna do 950. And for the text, I can do class name text white, font bold, and a very large text. Now we're not gonna see the screen because Export Router by default navigates to the index.tsx file. What I will do here for a second is I'm gonna comment out everything here, and I'm going to return a redirect component imported from Export Router. So we do import redirect from Export Router here at the top. And we say that whenever we go to the home screen, go ahead and redirect right away to the /welcome, the new screen that we've built. And just like that, we see the welcome message that we've built here. Let's go ahead and adjust a little bit the settings of this screen in terms of if we have a header and so on. This header is coming from the stack navigator that we find in the underscore layout. So the welcome screen is part of this stack navigator. If we want to, by default, it's going to take all the default settings and options. If we want to adjust them, we can go ahead and expand this stack navigator to have an opening and then a closing component, and then in between, we're gonna render stack.screen. And by using the same name as our file, for example, in this case, welcome, in the layout, stack.screen name welcome, I can use options which are React navigation options. So if you have experience with React navigation, these options are exactly the same. So here you can change the title, new title, and at the top we're gonna see new title. But in fact, what I want here is to actually say header shown false, and that's going to completely hide the header. And we can also add here a presentation mode. I think it's presentation. And the presentation can be a full screen model, if I'm not mistaken. So if I reload, doesn't work. Presentation model. Still doesn't work. What if instead here I do welcome? What if I manually, if I add a link, for example, somewhere here, I'm going to delete everything and I'm going to put a link saying welcome screen. What it doesn't like here. Oh, I forgot the return statement. So if I go ahead and press on this welcome screen, in this case, it shows from here. But why not from there as well? That's interesting. And what I wanted actually from the layout is not model, but a full screen model. Come on, how does it work? Full screen model. And in this case, if I press welcome, it's going to come from the bottom, but it's going to be full screen. And by the way, this is only going to work on iOS because a full screen model on Android is a little bit different. So I know that on Android, it's not going to come from the bottom, but I don't think that's the biggest issue. I'm wondering why it's not doing the same like this here, router. It's just like that. So maybe we should do it a little bit differently. Maybe we should do here a use effect. So when the component mounts, maybe we do router.push welcome. And this use effect should come from use effect from React and use router from here. Can I do just router? Attempt before mounting the component. Const router, use router. Let's try this way as well. But anyway, I don't think this is a problem, so I'm going to simply leave this return redirect at the top, and we're going to focus on the welcome screen. We see the welcome screen, that's already good. We can go here and start working on it. One way, for example, if we go into app.json, under user interface, you can do either automatic or dark if you want the status bar to be visible on a dark interface. So you can also do automatic here if you support dark and light mode. But yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and bring in a screenshot that we're going to try to replicate. And the screenshot is this one. So we want to have a title Apple invites here. Basically, at the first half of the screen, we're going to have something different. Like we're going to have this component that scrolls through different events. And on the bottom half, we're gonna have some text like welcome to Apple invites and some text here, and then a button. Let's go ahead and do that in our welcome screen. So we already have this welcome text. I'm gonna put it into a view to group it together with the rest of the text that we're gonna have there. Because we're also going to have another text that will say welcome to, and here is going to be not just invites, and below is going to be an even larger text. So can I copy it from here? Will it? No. No, it doesn't want. Okay. So let's do create beautiful invitation for your events. Anyone can receive invitation. Anyone can receive invitations. And so on. Okay, let's go ahead and give some class names here. For example, because I want the welcome text to be in the center, I'm going to, well, first of all, let's give it text white to make sure that it's visible. Then text center to put it in the center. Then text LG to make it larger. Welcome to is very bold, so text bold or font bold to make it bold. Now the same here for the invites, we need to put it in the text center, and the same here at the bottom. But the one at the bottom, if I'm not mistaken, is the same as the top one. The not just invites should be text 4XL to make it large. And the view that contains them, I'm going to give there a gap 4 to add some spacings between them, and maybe even a padding 4 to make sure there is padding in that component. The text below shouldn't be bold, so this one is not going to be bold. And the text from the top and from the bottom, as you can see there, it's not pure white. So we can either do text gray, for example, 300, like this, or even better, I think we need to also work with reducing the opacity of that text, because as you can see here, like if I zoom in, that text takes a little bit of the color from the background. So to achieve the same, we're going to do a slash here. And if we do slash 0, that's going to be 0 opacity, is going to disappear. If I do 100, it's going to be 100 opacity. Let's try a 50. Okay, that works better. Maybe the text shouldn't be gray, but even white. Will that work? Yeah, maybe. Text white, 50, maybe it's not 60. Let's do that. And here as well. And as you can see, it's kind of something like this. And it's taking the color from the background. So if the background is going to be, I don't know, green, it's going to the green is going to be visible a little bit on the text as well. All right. So let's put another view here at the top that later is going to have the scrollable marquee component. But for now, I'm going to say that the class name here should be, I don't know, I could do like height half of the screen. And if I do here bg white to see where it is, and let's do also with full, it's going to be here. That's because our top component has this justify center. If I take it out, it's going to be from the top. I think that's how I want it. Let's do a gray. The only thing is here, BG yellow. I just want to see where these components are. So let's do for. So this component ends here. So let's do it as flex1 to take all the available space, and items center to put the, maybe not items center, but justify center to put the text and this in the center. And at the top here, we're gonna have these cards, but we don't want the cards to be behind the notch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a safe area view imported from React Native safe area context, and I'm going to wrap it around my components here. And a class name flex1. Flex1. Does it need a flex1? The problem is that I don't no longer see this one. Height full, width full. Is it content container? Items center? No. BG red. Okay, BG red is good. And actually, I think it can be instead of this one, instead of the top one. Yeah, if I remove that one, everything is good now. So if I do here a BG 950, yeah, it's full screen. This one is at the top, which is going to be our scrollable. And maybe it shouldn't be actually half of a screen, it should be a little bit more. So I'm going to do here manually writing 60% to be more than half of a screen, because that's what I think it is here. Yeah, maybe the invites, the text should be even larger. So I'm gonna go here with 5XL. Here, instead of large, maybe 2XL. What else do you think should be different? Welcome, Apple invites. The text here should probably be 2XL as well. No, large is good. And the button. The button, I'm going to use a pressable component, because a pressable component is similar to a view but allows us to handle press events. So let's go ahead and import the pressable component from React Native, pressable. And inside the pressable component, I'm going to put a text saying create your event. Is that how they say, or create an event? That's good. Let's do reload. Now we're gonna see that just create an event. I'm gonna go into the pressable, and with a class name, I'm gonna style it. Class name. Let's give it first of all background white. Let's then give a padding of 6. That's too much, maybe 4. Let's give it align item center or items center, and a rounded full to make it rounded. Rounded full. I don't like that it expands on the whole screen, so I'm going to use a self center here to make sure that it doesn't expand on the whole item. That's because here somewhere on the top we had it. But at the same time, I want a little bit more spacing horizontally. So if I have P4, I will put this as PY, vertical spacing. But for the PX, I'm going to do 8, double the space, or even 10 you can do here, like this. The AI automatically added the styles here, so I'll probably take it a little bit slower. But I don't think I need to change anything there on the text, other than maybe the text large. Yeah, that's better. And maybe on the last text there, I'm going to do margin bottom 5 to push it down a little bit. And I will remove this background yellow from here as well. So something like that. What do you think? Looks good? Looks good. Instead of using 60% here, I can replace it with h3/5. And 3/5, that's 60%. Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much. So yeah, there are also this kind of, if you have, by the way, highly recommend if this is the first time you're using Native Wind, to use the extension called Tailwind, this one, because it will give you the IntelliSense, and it's going to save you so much time and help you learn faster, because I don't remember all the values. I remember how it starts, for example, age, and then I see here all the possible values, and there are relative values as well, like 2/4, which is kind of the same as 1/2. Weird. But I was looking at 3/5. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Mickey is saying, oh, it's really live. Yes, it's really live. Sometimes I'm too focused on delivering, on building, in order to provide you a better experience watching it later. But from time to time, I stop and watch the live chat. So help me. Right? If you have suggestions, if you have ideas on how I can do them better, I'm always looking to improve. So please let me know. Okay, so let me go ahead, and now that we have like the basic structure here, I'm going to do a git add, git commit. Yeah, let's do a welcome screen, basic UI. Now the next step is going to be to start adding these kind of images. For that, we are going to need some images. So let's go ahead and together find some images. I'm gonna go on pexels.com. I think we have pretty good style images. So let's download some of them. I'm going to do this one. Let's do maybe something else. Maybe not a cake, but let's do a party. I mean, like the images that Apple used, they are so nice. And if I don't have time, like I would generate them with AI. But as I said, like this week, I was so busy with building the course that I didn't have time to prepare like the images. Let's do this one. I need vertical images preferably. I know this one might be nice. And I need something full of colors, because these colors will look very nice behind the blur that we're gonna have. So what else? Let's do this one. Free download. I don't know, NFL. This one. I don't know, this one. And I think we should be good. What kind? Gender reveal party. Because we are doing like this kind of invitations. So let's find it. Gender reveal party photo as well. We already have a cake. I need some colors. I don't know, something like that has colors. Okay, now that we have these images, I'm going to go ahead and import them in our application. I'm going to put them in the assets, but first I'm going to create here a folder images. And let me bring in this newly downloaded images. So should be these ones. And I'm going to rename them 1 to easier manage them. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8. Let's go ahead and in the welcome here, or maybe not even in the welcome, but as we are working with welcome, let's do here const, let's define the list of events, or events is going to be an array of events where the events are going to have an ID. We're going to have an image, which I'm going to import from assets images, not event 1, but just 1. And that's it. For now, that's it. And let's do the same for other events as well. So event with ID 2, and here 2. Let's do 3, 4. This is AI recommending me, so I don't have any magical powers. This is all AI. For some reason, it stopped recommending the moment I said this is all AI. So let's do 4. Maybe for now it's enough. We're gonna see later if we need more. File does not exist. Why? Let's check this file structure. Require, so from welcome we go 1 layer up, then we go into assets, then we go into images, and it's not PNG, it's JPG. JPG. Come on, AI, now it's time for you to take over, but you're slow. Okay, so now that we have these events, let's go ahead and render their images on the screen. I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to do that like this. I'm going to first map through our events, events.map, and for each event, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply render a container, maybe a view. Come on. A view, and inside the view I'm going to simply render an image. I'm starting building this component here that has these images. So the image will have a source, and the source is going to come from this data, event.image. Event.image. This component image should be imported from React Native. Image. And for a second, I'm also going to, I don't think I can, I don't think I can do that. I can do that in VS Code, but here no. But anyway. Okay, so if I reload, what's going to happen now? All right, we see the images, but they are super, very tall. What I will do is this view here, I'm going to say, hey, the class name is take the full height of this of your parent component, so h full, but with I don't know what with. Let's do with 96, which is around 380 pixels. And I'm gonna do for the image the same, but in this case I'm gonna say, hey, height full, width full, and that's it. The thing is that they put on top of each other. So what I'm going to do in order to make them scrollable is this list of events. For a second, I'm going to put them in a scroll view. in a scroll view like this. I'm going to close the scroll view after them. I'm going to make sure to import scroll view from React Native. And I'm going to say that this scroll view is horizontal. Just like that, we should have this scroll view at the top. Perfect. I'm going to add some padding to the component that has one of these items, one of these cards. So let's do padding 5. Okay, that's good. Now we no longer need the background color gray because it breaks like our stuff. Now the whole card, or maybe the image itself, is going to be rounded LG to have rounded corners, but we need way more rounded. So 2XL, maybe even 4XL or 5. I don't think there is 4, but 5. No? 3XL is the largest? Maybe, but that's probably okay. Okay, and width and height, like we're gonna manage that a bit later. Now we just wanted to see something on the screen and to be able to scroll through them. Okay, so it's a good start, but definitely not what we need. Definitely not what we need. But until we get there, until we do the animations and so on, what stands out in this screenshot, and maybe you can see it even better in the video, if I bring it here, can anyone tell me, how do you think the background of this screen is? Like the nice green and like gradient and so on. What do you think that is? And I'm gonna play it so that you can see what happens there. Because it's not static, like something is happening there. Let me know, how do you think this is built? Oblique, what's the oblique? Hey Javier, how are you doing? While you're writing me, like, how do you think we can achieve the same background as here? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to answer the question from Mickey Brain. The app is looking good already. Thank you very much. Is the key not required? The key here. So yes, the key is required whenever we are looping through an array of items and rendering a list of components. React expects us to send a key, a unique key that identifies that item, because that key is used to identify and properly manage this component re-rendering cycle. So yes, you are right, this is required. Actually, it's like not super required because application is still working, but it's highly recommended to have unique IDs here. And you're gonna see later where I'm going to explain where it's actually crucial to have it, because by understanding what's happening, we're gonna understand like why in some cases we cannot live without it. So Vladimir is saying, based on selected photo, it sets it as the background blur view, and the background blur view does the rest. It is just the image, but blurred and bigger. Yes, that's exactly how it happens. So in the background, it sets the image of the currently visible item here, and then it puts a blur on top of it, and that's how it achieves this view. So let's try to do that ourselves. At the top, let's go ahead and put here an image. Oh, that's why I didn't need, yeah, I'm going to show you in a second. So let's start with an image, and for the source, I will simply say, hey, take the image of the first event, events at position 0 dot image. Okay, but for the class name, put it as absolute. And now it looks good, but maybe it needs that top 0, bottom 0, left 0, right 0. Maybe there is a shortcut for this, like absolute fill or something like that. I don't know. Maybe no. If you know like this one better, let me know. Oh, and even if it's in the safe view, because it's absolute, it actually works really well. So absolute means that it's not gonna affect anyhow the other items that we display here. So now that we have that view behind, what we need next is to put on top of it a blur, because now the items are not visible. The image from the background is too visible and actually is not helping us. We're gonna use Expo Blur, which is a component, a blur view, that on Android it's experimental. So I'm not sure how well it works on Android. If I'm not mistaken, it works, but in some cases might have some issues. On iOS, it works pretty well. So let's go ahead and install it using npx expo install expo blur. Come on. Let's open a terminal, install expo blur. And if you scroll down to see how it looks, how it works, is you just wrap it around the components that you want to be. Everything inside will be visible on top. Everything behind is going to be blurred with intensity. And that's how we're going to do it. So what we need to do is we need to wrap everything except our background image in that blur view. And this way the image is going to be behind the blur view from React Native, from Expo Blur. I'm going to put this one at the very end here. And I'm going to say intensity 100. Just like that. We see that I imported blur view from Expo Blur here. And just like that, we have some blur. I don't like that it doesn't go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom, because we have a safe area above. So I'm going to move back to a view here, because a view is going to be full screen. And I'm going to put the safe area view inside the blur view. So I'm going to render a safe area view here inside where we have a content. And I'm going to close it before we close the blur view. And just like that, the content is displayed in a safe area view, but the image and the blur is full screen. So just like that, we have that nice blur view. And if you go ahead and change the image from 0 to 1, it changes from to 3 to 5. Maybe we don't have 5, but to 4. What's going on? Doesn't want events 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, maybe 3. Yeah, it's visible. 2. Oh yeah, because we have 4 items and it goes from 0 to 3. Sorry, my bad. 1. But at the same time, another problem that I see is that for images, especially the ones that are too light, for example, maybe this one that we see here is too light, and in that case, again, like there is not enough contrast. What I will do is I will also render on top of the image a view that is going to serve as an overlay. So the class name of that view is also going to be absolute with bottom 0 and so on to take it the whole screen. And the background, if I do background black, it's going to be black and we no longer see the image. But if I do background black with 50% opacity, now it's better. So let me see if I remove it. So if I comment it out, the background is too light. If I put it, it darkens it a little bit, and now the content on top is visible better. What do you think? How should I play with this to make it even better? Maybe intensity lower? No, think everything was good, like with maximum intensity. 2, 3, 1, 1, and so on. Yeah, Francis, index at 0, definitely. Thank you very much. Okay, I think now it looks better. If you have suggestions on how I can do it, maybe we can even darker it by doing 80 here. Maybe we shouldn't use black, maybe we should use a gray. I'm not a designer and don't know exactly like what's going to be the effect of all of this. So gray actually makes, if it's a very light gray, it's going to make it more closer to white. If it's 800, which is a darker gray, it's probably better. If it's full black, it's the different situation, but I think black is kind of good. Maybe 60 or 70, or 70 is too much. Maybe I will leave it to 50. Perfect. I don't know, there is way more color here, but maybe even it's because of the images, right? Black seems worth here. Yeah, thank you. Now, quickly, I want to experiment with seeing how I can swap the backgrounds, even if I'm not going to finish the full, like I'm not going to connect it to automatically do that. Let's imitate the change of the background by pressing on this button. So I'm going to have here a state that I will update. So active, maybe not even active event, but active index. Set active index. Let's do it at position 0. And the state, we're going to import it from React. Now, using this active index, I'm going to render it here, the image. And when I press on the button, let's do here const on button press. I'm gonna do set active index to active index +1, and I'm gonna put this function on this pressable on press on button press. So if I press next create an event, it's going to go to the next image. Create an event, it's going to go to the next image. And to see it better, I'm going to do blur intensity 0, and I'm going to remove this view altogether. Okay, now what we see is cannot read property image of undefined, because we are always incrementing it. But we should check if active index is already the last item. If it's more than events.length -1, then we're gonna go back to 0. Otherwise, we're gonna increment it. So now, starting from 0, next, next, next. I think I know the problem. Come on, why are you... If it's more or equal, probably, right? I know the problem. That image is like way too big. But why? Contain top left what's happening here with full height full, and I need only left 0 without right 0 and top 0 without bottom 0. So I need to position it in the top right corner and then save it H full and W full. And here instead of contain, I'm gonna put cover to cover the whole space. And now I think it's better. Yeah. Now it's better because previously it was too zoomed in. And I'm not sure if this one is the same thing for the absolute, but I can do. So if I do 60, as you can see, it darkens the background. And if I do here 100, it has this blur. Perfect. Image background, set the property to adjust the blur amount. What do you mean? Set the property to adjust the blur amount. I'm gonna go back to 0 and I want to introduce something. Now when I change the image, as you can see, it changes instantly, like it's a jump cut. It simply replaces the image with a different one. If we look in this video of how Apple is doing, as you can focus on the background, as you can see, it doesn't change instantly. It has some kind of animation. It slowly goes from one to another. So how would you do that? How do you think a little bit about how would you change the image like in an animated way, like going from one to another, like with a fade animation, not like instantly. Because it's a small thing, but these are why Apple designs are looking so good. And I want to show you how we can do that as well. So write in the comments in the live chat, what do you think? How do you think this is accomplished? And I'm going to go ahead and show you something. So if we go to React Native Reanimated, and you might think, yeah, we can do like with React Native Reanimated, like complex stuff, but I'm gonna show you how easy it is. I'm gonna scroll down until we see entering, exiting animation under layout animations. So if I press on this button, we see that it has this fade in, fade out when a component comes into play and goes away. And the way it's implemented is super easy. All we have to do is import animated from React Native Reanimated and also import a animation type, for example, fade in and fade out. Let's import these two. Animated, fade in, fade out. Let's go to the component that we want to animate, and in this case is this image that we see here. And this image, whenever we need to animate a component, we need to transform it to animated.image, for example. Nothing is going to change now, but if we do here entering and specify that when the component enters, where when it is mounted, apply a fade in animation, and exiting, apply a fade out animation, we're gonna reload and we're gonna see that nothing really happened. Why? This is where the key comes into play. The thing is that entering and exiting works based on mounting and unmounting a component. And the problem is that this animated image is only mounted once, and then we simply replace the source. We are using the same component, but simply replacing what it displays, because we never unmounted it. We just render it once and then we replace it, and it keeps being mounted in the component. If we want to force this component to, if we want to force React to initialize a new component every time we change the image, we need to provide a unique key here. And the key, let's take it as events dot, or maybe, yeah, it should be in this case active index, or even maybe like active index dot image, like this. So now you're gonna see that when I move from one to another, maybe I can even comment out this blur view. Oh, but we need to have a button. And just leave somewhere here the pressable. Margin top 72. And if I do move, you're gonna see that the previous image is fading out and the new one is fading in. And we can achieve that. We can even change the duration to increase it. And now it's going to be slower, as you can see. Yeah, sometimes it jumps and maybe the images are heavier to load. So like you can even optimize this by preloading some of these images. Probably with Expo image, that would be better. But even now, like it's a nice going from one image to another. You can see that better if we increase this one, and you're gonna see that it simply goes from nothing and then comes the next one. If I press, goes to there and fades into another one. And everything is because of this key and entering and exiting. Because by having a unique key, React says, okay, this is another key. I cannot reuse the same one as previous time. I will have to unmount the previous one and mount a new one with a unique key. So probably this is going to help you understand better why do we need this key, because that's how React understands, like, can I reuse a component or should it be recreated from scratch? That's how React manages the memory of the components. Now, if I'm going to remove this temporary button and bring back my blur view here, everything, and increase the intensity to 100. Now, if I press, why is it looks like it's not animated, right? Or I don't know, it's animating, but it's way too slow. So I'm gonna do maybe 1 second is good. Yeah, now it's much better. I'm still not super happy with this, but probably it's about the actual colors of my cards. Nice, because I think I have more items there, so I can do 5. How many do we have? I think we have what, 8, 6. Yes, we have 8. Maybe we have better images there. Let's do 7th and 8th. 7, 8, 8. Reload. Next. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, this one looks nice. Mm-mm. 70. It looks like the Apple cards have shadow. Yeah, indeed they do. And I'm gonna try to apply this shadow to this view by saying to this view, because this is a card. Let's try to do shadow large. I'm not sure how it's going to look, but let's at least, yeah, I think it looks nice. Without shadow, with shadow. And you can do XL. XL doesn't look good. 2XL, because I think it doesn't go beyond this component. But large worked really well. Medium. SM. Medium. Maybe medium. Yep, I'll leave it as medium. Hello, will you write backend? Let me know if you're interested in implementing the actual functionality of this application. Today, I want to focus a little bit more on the animations and show you how to build these animations, and if we have time by the end to implement more user interface features like the forms and so on. But if you're interested in seeing how to do the backend and the functionalities, maybe we can prepare something for the next week. I'm gonna start a poll here. Abdul Latif is saying, I've never used styles and class names in React Native. Is it like Tailwind with React Native, or what it is called? Yeah, this is basically what you said. It's Tailwind in React Native. And that's made possible by a library called Native Wind. So Native Wind allows us to use Tailwind CSS classes in React Native. And if you have experience with Tailwind, like, this is going to be so much better for you. At least for me, like, for me, it works really better. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a git status. Our application is already looking better. Blur background, just by adding some blurs. It's already looking better. The next step is going to be a bit more challenging. But actually, before we do the next step, I will show you also how we can do other entering and exiting animations, because they are super easy to do, and it already gives so much. It makes your UI look so much better, your applications. At the beginning, as you can see, the screen brings the header from top to bottom, and then the text as well. So let's try to animate this entering animation as well. To bring the top part down, we're gonna have to check what is the top part. The top part is this view, right? This is the top part of the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is going to be an animated.view, and the entering animation of it is going to be, I can do it as a fade in. I don't need exiting. And I will put it after the class name. And now if I'm going to reload, you're going to see that the whole component fades in. But actually what I need is a little bit different. I need it to come from top to bottom. And you can see in entering and exiting animation what kind of animations we have here. There is fade in, fade out, from right to bottom, and so on. I think Apple is just not even fading in, it's just simply moving them from top to bottom. Like, or maybe a little bit of fade. So moving, bounce, flip, light speed, pinwheel, roll, rotate, slide. The slide in up, I think. Slide in up. Let's try the slide in up. I'm gonna import it here, slide in up, and I'm gonna use it here for this view. Slide in up. I will leave the duration original and see how it looks. As you can see, it comes from the top, think it's good. It takes a little bit of time to load the images. So like to optimize this screen, like you would first preload the images and only then go to this screen to avoid this kind of moment where it loads the images. But everything else I think looks good. But why it stops there? You see, now it has some spacing from the safe area view, but if I do the slide in up, I think it has a bug. It doesn't take into consideration the safe area view. That's a bug we need to don't like it. I can do here a manual margin top 24 or margin top 20, and this safe area view I'm going to say only apply to the bottom edge, but this is a quick fix of the slide in up bug, not taking safe area padding in consideration. Or maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I'm not adding it here, I'm manually adding it here, and now I think it kind of works. Okay, and you can do the same for the text as well, because for example, the text welcome to and the one from the bottom, they all come from the top to bottom. So I'm going to make it animated.text, and I'm gonna say entering is also a, how's it called? Slide in up. And the same thing for the bottom text here. Animated.text. 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 And the entering is going to be slide in like this. And if I reload, don't like it, what's happening there. Actually, the text himself, I think here is going to be fade in up. Let's try fading up. Yeah. Fading up works much better. And the same things goes to this one for the button. So let's do animated.pressable. Hopefully it doesn't have a pressable. So animated has like most common components like view, image, text, and so on. But it doesn't have all components. If you need to transform something to an animated component, we can import from React Native Reanimated, create animated component. And then we can say const animated pressable is going to be equal to create animated component from pressable. And now we can use it what? Animated component from what am I missing here? Model React Native Reanimated has no export to create animated component. Did you mean? No, wait a second. Let me check. Create animated component. How do I import it? Create animated component. Maybe I'm going to do it with animated dot. Animated dot. without importing it. Not sure why, but this way it works. Now I'm gonna do animated pressable. I'm gonna replace it with this one because I also want to put here the entering fading up. Yes, let's do reload. And now the button as well does fading up. But as you can see, all of them are at the same time. In case of Apple, some of them are first. For example, the top one is first and only then the items below. What we can do is we can do a dot here and say delay, and this is going to delay this animation by 1,000 seconds, by 1 second. As you can see, maybe 1,000 is too much, but 300, and the same should happen to the text as well. This one and this one. Maybe 100, like. I don't know. As you can see, I know the properties, but I don't know how to make it look really good. And this one in the center, it has a very nice animation like this. I'm not gonna do that. I'm going just to do a fade in. So for the text in the middle, which is not just invites, let's do it animated.text. Animated.text. And I'm going to do entering a simple fade in. Maybe it's also going to need a delay. I think it's way smoother, slower. For example, this one at the top part, entering, sliding up, maybe the duration, not 1,000 by 600. Oh, 1,000, let's try. And in this case, this one will have a 1,000 delay to start when that one finishes. And this one, a 1,000 delay. Entering damping 12. Let's see if I add damping to which one? To the top part. Let's try dot damping 12. Damping. Let's see damping. Entering, exiting, and let's do damping spring base, fade in springify. Maybe I can do it springify because yeah, like probably it's anyway, I think this one is already better. Maybe this should be 800. No. This one probably 1,000, but the others shouldn't wait for this to fully finish. Let's try it like this. It's okay. I think it's good. The text on the top doesn't move as much as the one on the bottom. You're just finding these right values. Like, is a challenge in itself. Yeah, I think this one also needs, for example, damping 12 and duration 500, or maybe to make it springify actually. But go ahead and play with these values yourself and see what you can achieve with them. Because yeah, so far so good. So someone is saying springify. Damon is saying, do I need springify before? If I do that, why it comes from? I need, if I do springify, I don't need duration, I need mass. So mass 10, stiffness 100. What's gonna do? Who? Okay, that's also something. I'm not sure if here they do it as a spring. Maybe I can, yeah, but yeah, again, you can play with it. There is one overshoot clamping. Overshoot clamping. True, that's not gonna go below, right? Yeah, I don't like that. Oh, this one is good. Oh, yes. Look at this. Starts fast, slows down at the end. Oh boy, I think this is really nice. Let me try the same for others. For example, for the welcome to. What's going to happen if I do for all of them? But I need delays for others. For example, dot delay for 500. Yeah, I'm spending probably way too much time here. Yeah, I think this is much better. I think this one, fade in, doesn't need this because it doesn't have movement. It doesn't work. Something is happening here. Entering, fade in. I'm looking at this invite. The duration, maybe I'm going to do duration 1000 just to make sure that the text in the center, yeah, it works. Okay, now it's better. All right, so I'm going to do a git add. I spent way too much time there, but now, yeah, entering layout animations. Thank you very much, Damien, for giving me the hints with springifying the animation. It definitely looks much better now. Okay, so as I was saying, the next part is going to be super interesting because the next part is going to be about implementing the animation of this component, the scrolling of the component on the top. Because as you can see here in the video, that's how it works. It automatically scrolls, and we can also scroll ourselves. So that's what we are going to do next. Let's go ahead and start this part by creating a component. Because right now on the welcome screen, we have too many things and we're gonna get a little bit confused. Let's go ahead and create a component, Marquee, TSX, and let's do export default function. And what we're gonna render here, return. For now, let's render which part? I think the scroll view. I'm gonna leave this animated view because it's part of a welcome screen, but the scroll view is going to go from here into our component here. We are going to need in this component to import a view, a scroll view, an image, and we need the events. And the events probably is going to be, let's do for now events like this. Later we're going to think how can we do it like reusable, but for now it's going to be like this. Now if I go back to the welcome, all I have to do is render this Marquee element by sending the events like this. We imported it from components and now we have it here. Perfect. Now the next step, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove a scroll view and replace it with a normal view that has a class name flex row. And you might ask, why would we do that? Because now we cannot scroll through it. I decided to do it this way because I want to have full control over how the items are moving in our component, how we are managing the scroll. Because this component, back in our scroll view, the problem with a scroll view is that we cannot go back to previous items, and if we reach the end, we cannot go next. What I want to do is I want to have an infinite scrollable component that is going to change and move items around to make it possible to do it infinitely scrollable. That's why I'm not gonna try to handle it through a scroll view. I'm going to implement it myself. And I'm gonna do that by using here the view with a class name flex row, as I was saying. Now we cannot scroll, but that's okay. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this component into the marquee item. So let's create it at the top as marquee item. And what it's going to render is going to render this view. And this is going to help us understand like what is the container of all the items and what component is responsible for rendering one of these items. Just like this. Now everything is still working fine, but we can see the logic of a whole scrollable container, and here is the logic of one item. The next step I want to do is, again, let me say this. You can achieve this in so many different ways. In the following step, I'm going to show you how I thought about it and how I got to this solution. And let me know if you know a better way. So what I will do next is I will actually display the items with absolute position. Let's render them at left 0. I don't know why they disappeared. That's interesting. Why did they disappear? H full, W96. What if I do H96 as well? Yeah, they appear back. So it's based because of H full. That means that I have to manage the height here as well. So maybe I can do here H full. Yeah, now it's good. So I have here left 0. What I want to do in fact is I don't want to put all of them. Actually, I'm going to move the left into the style property and say left 0. Maybe I can do, and this key shouldn't be handled here. It's handled here at the marquee, so I don't need it at this lever. Anyway, we have left 0 here, but the thing is that I don't want all the items to be positioned 0 pixels from the left. I want only the first item to be here, then the next one to be a little bit to the left, and so on. And in fact, let me go ahead and open up some diagramming, because we're going to need a lot of that in order to understand how to move things around. So let me open some diagramming. Let's imagine that we have here the phone. Let's also imagine, give some widths. For example, I'm going to suppose that the width of our phone is, let's say, 500 units or pixels. Or maybe, to simplify it, we can give it 100. So the width of my phone is 100 units. Pixels, inch, I don't know, 100 something. Then we have cards. We don't know yet like what the width of a card is, but we have cards of a specific width. And it's gonna go here. And this one is gonna go here. This card is going to be card number 1. This one is card number 2. And this one is card number 3. Okay, let's go ahead and give these cards a very specific width. For example, maybe for the sake of simplicity, I'll do it 50 pixels. And let's say that they are like this, close together. There is no gap between them. So I will make them 50 pixels like this. Okay, just because we say we have a specific width of items, let's give it here. So let's do const item width is going to be equal to 50. Do I need it here, or maybe let's do it at the top first, and then we're gonna figure out how to do it like more dynamically. So item width is 50. I'm actually going to say that the width of this view is item width, and I'm not going to give it 96 here. 50 is too little, so I'm going to bump it up to 500. 300. Something like that. Maybe 250 to be half of a screen, similar to our diagram. So if you want closer values, not to get confused, our screen size, let's assume it's 50, and the size of one of these items is 250. 250, 250. So if I say that the item should be positioned left 0, that means 0 pixels from the left part, from this side of our screen. So this side. That's good for the first item, but the second item should be at position 250 because that's the size of this item. The third item should be 250 plus 250. So in fact, the left, or the, let's do const initial position, should be equal to the item width multiplied by the index of the item. Index of item. The index of item, we're gonna send it through properties because from the item inside we don't know which is the index. But from the outside, when we map through them, we will know the index and we can send it through properties to our item. Now we take initial position and say that the left is equal to initial position. Let's reload. And now we should see this. And we see spacing between them because we have padding on this view. And the image is actually smaller than the whole component. I'm going to remove this one and you're going to see that the images touch each other. Or to better think about it, we can do background purple 700. And let's do it as 20% or 50%. So now you see that actually, as we have in this diagram, the items themselves are close together and they are positioned correctly, right? Well, right. What's the next step? The next step is to handle the scrolling. Let me think like what's going to be easier to show you. The automated scrolling or the manual scrolling. I think it's going to be the automated scrolling. For the automated scrolling itself is going to be an animation. And the animations in React Native Reanimated usually are powered by a shared value. A shared value is a value that can be used on both JavaScript side, but it actually lives on the UI side, meaning that changes to that variable are going to be applied instantly to the UI when it's used on the UI. It doesn't go from JavaScript. It doesn't have to go from JavaScript thread to the UI thread because it already lives on the UI thread. So our value that we're going to power our scrolling is called scroll value. And let's define it as use shared value. And let's start with 0. Use shared value is a hook that we have to import from Reanimated. React Native Reanimated. Perfect. Now, this scroll value, let's go ahead and first send it to the marquee item as scroll. I'm going to go back and say that, hey, we are going to receive a scroll. And as you can see, the AI is suggesting us that scroll is going to be a shared value of type number. That's good. I'm going to import the type shared value from Reanimated. Everything good. Maybe I can extract the properties into a separate type here to be easier to read them. You don't have to type it properly because that's not the point. We are focused a little bit on the animations, but anyway, like you can follow this type as well and write it yourself. Maybe I don't need the background purple anymore. But we have this scroll position. What we're gonna do with this scroll position? Well, we are going to influence the value of this left. So we're going to add the scroll position to the initial position. This way, as we scroll through the items, we move how far left, like the position of the item. We can do that by using, let's do animated style, and we can define the animated style using a hook called use animated style. And the value that we're going to return here is going to be a style, is going to be an object that will listen to this shared value scroll. And whenever we update the scroll, it's going to update the style. And that's how we apply animated styles. The animated style that we want to apply now that depends on a shared value is called scroll that we need to apply to left. So left is going to be the initial position of our item plus scroll.value. Now this animated style should be applied to this view, and to animate a view, it should become an animated.view, animated.view. Animated should be imported from Reanimated like this, animated. And if we, for the styles here, if we go ahead and apply, put them into an array, we can have static styles and also together or besides the animated style that we defined here. We no longer need to apply the left here because this is already an animated style. And the width can be like this, it's okay. I'll reload my application and nothing happens, but if I go to the use share value here and say, move it to 10 pixels or 100 pixels, you're gonna see what happens. It's going to be moved 1 pixels to the right. If I do move it to 200 pixels, you're gonna see moved even more. Or minus 200 pixels is going to go the other way. Okay, this is how I manually did that. But what I can do is I can start this automated animation, which can be started in a use effect with timing. But what I'm going to do is, in fact, I'm going to use a hook called use animated frame, something like that. Use frame callback. Use frame callback is a hook that lets us run a function on every frame update. So if our application is has a frame rate of 60 frames per second, that means that we can run a function 60 times every second, and we can apply real-time animations like this. So that's what I'm going to do in this component. I'm going to manage the scroll inside this use frame callback. And I'm going to say, hey, this frame callback comes from Reanimated as well. And I'm going to say, hey, scroll value should be equal to scroll.value plus 1. What do you think is going to happen in this case? And it doesn't have this dependency array. It's just a function. In this case, like every frame rate, we're going to move the items 1 pixels to the right. And it should start at 0. What I want to do is I want this scroll to actually move up, like from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But I want the items to move in the other direction. So I'm going in the marquee item in the animated style. I'm going to say initial position minus scroll value. And this way it's going to move there. So as you can see, it's already working. Hello, Mobin. And the way it works is this function that we added to the use frame callback is being called on every frame. So it's being called 60 times a second on average. And what we do, like on every frame, we move a scroll 1 pixel. We move a scroll like 1 pixel, and then we move all the items when we render to the left. This is working, but let me show you actually a little bit a better way of doing that. What I mean is by using, let's do scroll speed is equal to 1. By having a value here, we can apply it like this. Scroll value, scroll speed, and then we can change the scroll speed to 10, and it's going to move faster. So we have influence on how fast we move. I'm gonna leave it to 1 for a second. This is fine, but it's not exactly right because, as I was saying, this function is called approximately 60 times a second. But let's imagine that we have a phone that has a refresh rate of 120, which means that this function is going to be executed twice as often as on another device, which means that on a device with a higher refresh rate, our scroll speed is going to be higher because we are going to call this function 2 times more. Or on a device with 30 frames per second, this animation is going to run 2 times as slow, which we don't want. We actually want the same speed on every device. And to achieve that, the frame callback has frame info here. If you go ahead and do console log frame info and look into this here, you're gonna see, let me stop somewhere, a couple of properties: times since the first frame, times since previous frame, which is 16.6 on average. And this 16.6 on average, if you go ahead and do the math and divide, where is it? Not now. If you divide 1000 by 60 frames per second, you get this 16.6, which is where it's coming from. But as you can see, it's not always the exact same number, because some frames can take longer, some frames can take slower, depending on how busy is the CPU of a phone. That means that we should take the time since, not first frame, but time since previous frame, and based on that amount, update or apply to the movement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say const, I'm going to calculate the delta time or delta seconds, and I'm going to take this time since previous frame and divide it by 1000, because there it's milliseconds. I'm going to divide it by 1000. And also make sure that we put this one in like this, because during the first frame, this is going to be null. So we will put 0 if it's the first frame. Now, having the delta seconds, we can apply it to this speed. We can multiply it by speed, because what we want is to move 1 pixels per second. And this delta time says what percentage of a second was this frame. And then we multiply the speed with that delta seconds, and we get the amount of pixels we want to move in that direction. And usually we want like more than 1 pixels per second. We probably want like, I don't know, per second, like, I don't know, at least 50 pixels. And if I reload now, it's going to work. You might think that it's the same, but actually this is the correct way of doing this. It's going to run with the same speed on different devices. It's going to run with the same speed when the phone like varies in how busy is the CPU and how fast it refreshes the frames. So this is a concept that we use very often in game development, and when I'm using it, I remember how I was building like games. I know 7 or 8 years ago, I was actually a game developer, and this delta like was a very important part for applying modifications on how you want to move smoothly things. Okay, so now we have this animation of moving items. Works nice, but has a problem. It stops at one point. Oh, thank you. Too much. Thank you. MD Adnan is saying, hi Adnan, could you make a tutorial of building a fitness application using React Native and Firebase authentication? I would be happy to do that. Not sure if I would do with Firebase. I'd probably do it with, like, I don't know, Cleric authentication or Supabase or something like that, like a more modern solution, open source. But I encourage you to go to github.com/notjust.dev/notjust.dev. if I'm not mistaken, we should have a link in the description, and go to the discussions. And this is where people submit suggestions and others are voting for what application you want to see. So go ahead and open a discussion here, or vote for the others that you want us to build. I would be very happy to look at the ideas that you guys suggest, and suggest your ideas here. Okay, okie dokie. Again, our automated scrolling works nicely now, but the problem is that once the items are off the screen, that's it. We no longer see anything else. And before I actually go ahead and implement the way we're gonna manage and move items around, let me first integrate with gestures so that we can also scroll using gestures here, not only using automation, because it's going to help us a lot understand better like how things move, and it's going to help us understand how things are moving. So as I was saying, on Apple here, these items are moving automatically, but we can also swipe through ourselves. That's really cool, and that's not super hard to implement. For that, we're going to use the gesture handler, React Native gesture handler, together with Reanimated. So gesture handler is a way to handle gestures such as tapping, panning, long pressing, rotating, pinching, flinging, hovering, and so on. The gesture that we're looking for is this pan.gesture, because it allows us to track the movement, like we press on something and then we move it. And that's the gesture that we want here. We're gonna press on this on the screen and we're gonna move, and we want the items to scroll and follow the movement of our fingers. To do that, let me show you what we're gonna have to do. From Reanimated, which we have already installed in package.json, I mean gesture handler. We have it already here. If you don't have gesture handler, go ahead and follow the installation guide here in the documentation. But because we already have it, we're gonna go here and import two things. Gesture, React Native gesture handler. The gesture detector, which is a component that detects gestures, and the gesture itself, that is going to allow us to build the gesture. Let's go ahead in our Marquee component and start by defining our gesture. Is going to be equal to gesture.pan. This is the name of a gesture. Then using, by chaining some methods here, we can apply functionalities to these gestures. One of the functionality is on begin. And I'm going to do here a console log on begin. Then we have another one, like chaining it after this one. There is on change. We're gonna console log on change. It also has this event. And then there is the on finalize event. Let's do, oh, come on. Let's do console log on finalize. Now we're gonna have to use this gesture and apply it somewhere here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my whole component in a gesture detector, and I'm gonna send there the gesture that we just created here. Okay, like this. I'm going to end it at the bottom. So, come on. So where you render it on the screen is the area that is going to be used to detect these gestures. So in our case, we put it on the whole component, Marquee component. So that whole area is going to be managed by this gesture. So now if I look here, we see that the gesture detector must be a descendant of gesture handler root view. And even though this component is installed, it's not finished configuring, because to make gesture detector work, we need to, at the root level, command B, at the root level, which is our up_layout, we need to wrap it in a gesture handler root view like this. The gesture handler root view should be imported from React Native gesture handler, and make sure to add a flex one here in order to make sure that it's expanding on the whole screen. Now everything works. Back in our marquee here, let's open the terminal and see the console logs. I'm going to clear the consoles, and here, if I press on these items, what do we see? We see on begin, then we see on change, on change, on change, on change, and then on finalize. So this is the whole life cycle of our gesture. In fact, there are more lifecycle methods of a gesture. I'm gonna explain the difference between two. The pen gesture. If we scroll down, come on, where is it? It's not documented here. On start, on, no, probably it's in the about gesture handlers. Common handler. Come on, I want to show you. Gesture state and events, most probably. Okay. Here it is, events. On begin. This function is called when a gesture doesn't explain super well. But basically, the on begin is called as the first function when the gesture just starts, but it's not yet determined if it's going to be the gesture that we want. For example, a pen gesture implies pressing, moving the finger, and then releasing. That's a pen gesture. So if we just press and don't move a finger, it's going to stop here. If we press and start moving, it's going to do on start. So here on start. Then as we move, it's going to call on change, and then there is also on update. And at the end, it's first going to call on end if the gesture was detected and started. But if not, it's going to call, in any case, it's going to call on finalize. So on begin is first, last on finalize, on start second, then on end if only this one was started. And I'm going to show you the difference. If I just press and release, we see on begin and on finalize. The gesture began, but it didn't start. It was not detected. If I press and move, we see on begin, on start, update, change, because they are kind of the same. And at the end, we see on end and on finalize. On end is only called if on start has been called. So that's important to understand because it's the same for everything else. And in our case, what I'm going to say is, hey, first of all, I'm going to transform our speed from a value to a shared value because I'm going to update it. because it's a share value. When I use it, I need to use it as .value. And in the gesture, when we begin this gesture, I will say scroll speed.value equals 0. I'll basically stop the automated scroll. So if I press, I stop the scrolling. Now, at the end on finalize, I'm going to restart the automated scrolling. Scroll speed.value equal to 50. I will remove the on start and on end. Or maybe I should do that in the on start and on end. Yeah, let me do this on start and on end, because if I just press the screen without actually doing the gesture, maybe I don't need to stop this. So now it goes automatically. If I press, nothing happens. But no, that's the problem. If I press, it should stop automatically, because now it stops when I start dragging. So that's why I'm gonna go to on start with on finalize. As you can see, these two kind of methods, start, finalize, and begin. Wait a second. I'm already lost. I meant on begin, on finalize. They work together. So when I change one, usually that means that you want to change the other as well. So now if I just simply press, it stops. If I release, it starts again. Press, it stops. Release, starts again. Now the next step is like when I move the finger on the screen, I want to move the scroll position. That's not super hard to do because we have this either on update or on change. Update is called when things are updated. On change is also called then, but it also has an additional property called change X, which has only the difference in the position from the previous time the on change has been called. That's good because we can apply it to the scroll value. So we can take scroll value and add the change X to our scroll value. If I go back and start scrolling, as you can see, something is moving, but it's in the other direction. So probably I should do here minus. Now if I reload, if I start moving, it follows exactly my movement. If I release, it continues automatically. Cool, perfect. So that's simple. But now let me finalize it with a little touch that is going to make it so much better. And this is usually called momentum scroll. When we move the finger fast and release it, we want items to move very fast. If we just slowly move and release it, we want them to continue the velocity of our scroll, right? So to do that, on finalize, here, if we look at the event is going to have the velocity X, which if I scroll slow and release, the velocity is going to be a small value like 95. If I do the same but release it fast, it's going to be minus 3000. So we can take this value and we can apply it to the speed. We can apply it simply like this, event.velocity, apply it here. So if I slowly release it, maybe it should be minus. So if I slowly release it, it continues the same movement. If I do it fast, it continues the same movement. The thing is that I want the speed to start that high, but then to go back to this 50. Then slow down. I can do that by using scroll value with timing. animation modifier, and I'm going to move towards the value 50, but over time, not instantly. So now if I scroll fast, it doesn't work. Oh, because it's not scroll, but scroll speed. Scroll speed.value, this. And I think I will do that over a longer duration. And if you look at the Reanimated website, at the with timing, we're gonna see the different easing methods. So the different functions that are applied to this animation. A very usual one would be a linear animation. Linear, and it will look like this. So if we go from 0 to 100, it's going to linearly go from 0 to 100. And it looks like this, very linear with the same speed all over. There is the most common one probably is in and out, which starts slow, then picks up the speed and then ends slow. In our case, what I want is I want to start fast and then reduce it at the end. And I think it's called just out. It starts fast and then reduces it at the end. So I'm gonna copy it from here and apply it to the configuration of our with timing. With timing, let's do easing, and this easing should be imported from React Native Reanimated like this. So now if I scroll and release, it looks really nice. And you should definitely try to build it yourself and get it on your physical device and see how it works. Well, where is my items? I was not seeing them, but now I see. Nice. So we have automated scrolling, we have a manual scrolling as well. We are doing really good progress. Let me clean up a little bit here, things that we no longer need, but I think we are good. Let me go ahead and do a git add, git commit -m, and do it yourself scroll view with auto scrolling and gesture based scrolling. Perfect. The last step is to make sure that our scroll view is infinite and items repeat after we scroll them. All right, I see that 92% of you guys want me to build the backend of this application as well. Because I'm going too deep into the animations. But yeah, this app would be really cool to build it like full stack with backend as well. Because in that case, I believe like it can be used in a lot of events like applications. All right. Ed Favor on Twitter is asking where can I watch the replay later on. You can watch it on our YouTube channel. Go ahead and search for notjust.dev, and there you'll find this one, the replay. All right, guys. So the challenging part starts. Well, how do we explain this properly? All right, let's do it like this. Not exactly sure how, but I'm going to try. Let me do it like this. One, two, three. Let's do 4 as well. 4 as well. And maybe I should also do a group like this. Group selection. Okay, and I can move them like this. All right, guys. So how everything works. We have, I'm gonna write here, scroll is equal to 0. If scroll is equal to 0, we have this situation. If scroll is equal to to 250, we have the following situation, like all the items move 250 to the left. Okay, and if scroll is equal to 750, that means that all items move 1, 2, and 3 items to the left. So in this situation, we already see the problem is that the items are 2 to the left and we do not see anything here at the beginning. And if the scroll increases more and more and more, the items are going to go farther and farther from the device. And we're not going to see them at all. The thing is that we are not going to do anything about the scroll position. The scroll is going to be a value that can go to maximum integer value and minimum. So it can go to 150,000, 235. And in that case, like you can think like these items are very, very far that way. But what we need to do is we need to take any value that the scroll view here has and understand like where we should place it here on the screen. The way we're going to do that, let's go back to 750, is that, for example, when the scroll is 750, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the first item and I'm going to move it all the way here. Maybe, in fact, the second item as well, I'm going to move it here. So how does this movement going to work? Well, let's go ahead and first define what is going to be the full width of our items. So our items container width is going to be equal to, in this case, 1000, right? But it can be calculated by multiplying the number of items with the amount of items. Now we know that it's 1000. These are just values. Now let's draw a box of 1000 width, for example, like this. And this is going to be red. This is going to be our bounds. And I'm going to actually do it 1000 width like this. And let's place it not here, but let's place it centered to the phone device like this. That means that we have 50 pixels here. We have 50 pixels left, which means that this part is 250. And this part is 250. Now this red box is going to be the box that is going to define when do we move stuff around. Meaning, as we scroll, as the scroll indices go, and as the element number 1 goes outside the red box, we're gonna know that we have to take the element and move it all the way here. And then we continue moving. We move. As we come here, 2 goes outside the red box, we go here. Okay, how are we gonna do that? Well, that is going to happen on the marquee item, because every item is going to handle their left position individually. So first of all, we need to know the size of this container, the container width. The container width we can calculate in the whole array, because here we know how many items we have. So let's do container width equal to events.length multiplied by item width. So the amount of items multiplied with their width. Let's take this container width and give them to our items their container width equal to container width. Let's go ahead and receive the container width as a number here. And now, knowing the container width, we can say, hey, I'm going to add here const left position, or just left, or just, let's do position, equal to initial position minus scroll value. And this position is going to go here. The problem with this thing, by taking initial position, which can be, let's look at the first item. The initial position is 0. So 0 minus scroll value, that means that this value can be a very large value, because I'm going to take the same box in other situations as well. And we're going to see how it works. For example, in the case of scroll is 750, or maybe even like more. I'm going to do one even bigger example for us to understand like how it looks if it's 1250. So it's going to be like this, which means that all the items are outside our window, our red window. So in this case, the first item is going to get the initial position of minus 1250. But if we go ahead and take this value and then we we divide it by the container width and take the remainder of it, that means that we take the 1250, we divide it by container width 1000, but we take only the remainder, and the remainder is going to be 250, and 250 means that the 1 is moving to this position in this situation. So by simply doing this remainder, we create a bound, we create a limit of where the items cannot go past. And if they go past, they come back to the previous position. And as you can see, they come back here. Not exactly where we want, but they come back there. The problem is that now how we do it, divided by container width, our window, if I'm not mistaken, I think the window is like this. Yes, because this is the container width. This window is 1000 pixels. And normally it would be here with green, but we reverse it. we do minus scroll view to move it in the other direction. So, but from here, from a normal position, it goes all the way here. So that's why when our items go away from here, in fact, when they reach this position, when their beginning goes outside the bound, that means that they come back here. So that's why we see the following result. It kind of works, but it comes back to the middle of the screen. Not to the middle of the screen, but to the beginning of the screen here, if that makes sense. What we have to do is to move this window from here back to where we want it, all the way here. And to do that, what we're gonna have to check, we are going to have to calculate this shift. Because initially this position is here, we need to move it a bit to center it in this container. To center it in this container, we need to take the whole container width 1000, take out the screen width 500, and then divide it by 2 because we have a bit to the left and a bit to the right. So this is the amount of shift that we're going to have to do, the 250 that you see here. To get to this 250, again, we take the container width, we subtract the width of our screen, and then we divide it by 2 to see how much is to the left and how much is to the right of the red container. So let's go ahead and take this one. Const shift equal to container width, so container width minus the width of a screen width, divided by 2, because we need to take, this way we know how much is outside the screen. Knowing the container width minus screen width, we know how much is outside the screen. Divided by 2, we can know how much should go to the left and how much should go to the right. Screen width can be taken easily using use window dimension that comes from React Native. So screen width. Now this shift, we are going to apply where? I think what I'm going to do is the initial position, I'm going to add the shift. What happens if I add the shift? And I'm going to comment out the automated animation just for me to see. What I want to do is I want to start from the middle. Initial position, if I add the shift. And here I think I need to subtract it. So it starts from the middle, and I can scroll, and I think it never ends. Oh no, it ends. Or it should be the other way around. Here minus shift, and here plus shift. Yeah, now it works. Now it works. I'm wondering if I'm going to say that the item width is 30 pixels. Maybe 50. And maybe it's not going to have that much padding. P1. And maybe I just want to see how everything works. I'm going to go here and I'm going to say I only have 4 items, not more. As we had in our diagram, 4 items. Will this work? I don't know. As you can see, it comes here, but I'm not sure how to properly display it to you. 50 to maybe here I will do flex row margin X auto. Yeah, I think here. And if I do here border 2 border red, no, doesn't really want height. But anyway, and why are there only 3? Yeah, there are 3. If I will add the 4th one, this is what happens. This is the center, and yeah, this is the center. I'm not gonna be able to show you like that because a lot of values has to change, like the screen width should change and so on. So I'm gonna go back and hope that everything works. How should I show you? Hello, Daniel. How are you doing? Even now with only 4 elements, we see that it's working pretty well. We see that it adds it here at the end, but it works. So with more than 4 items, it's even better because this red box is larger. It depends on how many items we have. Perfect. Love it. And now I can go back and the item width, I can increase it to maybe not 250, but I'm gonna put it inside here and say that the item width is going to depend on the screen width. So I will do screen width multiplied by 0.6 for 60% of the screen width. And if I reload, I will go ahead and send the item width to our item as well. Item width, let's receive it. For properties. And is it 60%? Maybe 6, padding 6 is too much here. Padding 2, padding 3, yeah, that's good. I don't know, 70%? How are they doing here? When it's in the center. Yeah, maybe 65 will be good. Perfect, amazing. And this was probably the hardest part. Git status, git add, git commit -m. Infinite scroll. I will go ahead and implement one more thing. As you can see, the items are moving a little bit in a circular motion. They are not linear. Like the item here on the left, it's rotated to the left, and on the right, it's rotated to the right. And the one in middle is the one who is just straight. So to do that, we're gonna go back here in the animated style, and we're gonna say, hey, let's go ahead and apply a transform. And using a transform, we can do a rotate Z, I think on the Z axis, of 10 degrees. If I do that, we see that all of them are rotated. If I do -10 degrees, they are going to be rotated like this. So what do we need to do? Whenever the item, the position is closer to the left side of the screen, it should be -10. When it's in the middle, it should be 10. When it's on the right, it should be +10, for example. For that, we use an interpolate function. An interpolate function can map a value from one range to another one. So the range that we want to map is the position, or the value is the position, and there are going to be first range and the second range. First range specifies what's the range that the position value can be in. So let's say that when it's 0, the position means that it's right at the left side of the screen. And when it's on the other side of the screen, we can say that it's width. Maybe not width, but screen width. Now this is the values of a position. And in the second one, we need to apply what rotation do we want to apply. Well, we want to apply, when it's 0, we want to apply minus 10. And when it's screen width, when it's on the other side, we need to apply 10. The problem is that this should be, let's do const rotation equal to this rotation. And the thing is that the rotate, as you saw, should be 10 degrees. So this 10, I will replace it with a variable rotation, but I need to do it with the degree at the end. That's why my application crashed now. Come on, where is Expo Go? Reload or install. Theme and font. I know, material darker, I think it's called, my theme. Okay, so something is happening. As you can see, items are animated, but not exactly how we want it. Well, when they get on this side of the screen on the left, if we look here, they indeed have a correct rotation. But when they're in the middle, they're supposed to have 0 rotation, and only when they are on this side of the screen, they should have 10. Well, the problem is that we say screen width here. So we say, in a way, like if I'm going to take this one here, so when it's 0, we wanted this rotation. But when it's screen width, which we expected it to be here, but in fact it was all the way here, it was the other way. So that's why we have a problem. We shouldn't take screen width, we should take screen width minus the width of the item. Screen width minus the width of the item, because it should be here. Not sure if it makes a lot of sense, but here screen width minus item width should fix this. In the center, it's 0. On the right, it's rotated there. On the left, it's rotated to the left. On the right, it's rotated right. Of course, there is a lot of rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do rotation maybe 3 degrees. Even there, it's a lot. And also, usually rotations are happening, like if I do 45 here, rotations are being done based on the center of the element. If you want the rotation to be done based on a different point of the element, you can do that with a property on the animation view here. You can say origin, transform origin bottom, and now the rotation are going to be based on the bottom. It looks a bit crazy. I don't know what's happening there. They see me rolling, behaving. Yeah, I think that's, I don't know where is the bottom of that animated view. Because height full, if I do here BG red, where is the, so it should be on this bottom. If position 0, minus 10. If position is screen width minus item width 10. If I do 3, it's still a lot. Even 1 degree is a lot, right? Or it's better. And we can also move them down, right? As they rotate, we can move them a little bit down because they go, this corner goes too much to the top and looks bigger than the previous one. Here, they kind of rotate in a big circle. What I can do is I can do here another transformation, because I can do here translate y 10, for example, or 100. This will move them down, but I want to move them down as interpolating the same position. When it's 0, I want to move it minus 10. When it's on the other hand, like it can be 10, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to show you in a second. Let's apply it. When it's 0, it's minus 10. No, it should be 10, and in this case, minus 10. We're coming from top to bottom. So actually I want both left and right to be below. So I will do 10 and 10 there. The problem is that now all of them are to the bottom. We need a value when it has 0 translation. So we need a third value here. And the third value is going to be the center point. What's the center point? Well, if this is that part, I guess it's divided by 2. If this is this, the right side, screen width minus item width divided by 2. Or simply, no, but I think it's correct. Screen width minus item width divided by 2. So here it's 0. Yeah, we see that left and right are at the same positions. Maybe they need a little bit more rotation and a bit less displacement, like maybe 3 pixels. It's too much, man. 1. Yeah, to be honest, like the way they did it, I understand how it works. I don't know how to build it correctly. Basically, the items, they all rotate around the same center somewhere at the bottom of the screen. Like in my case, I am faking it, and you can see it. Like if you look good, like you can see that this rotation is not perfect, but I think it looks really nice. I know 1.5. Can you do that? Yeah. What's different? Like when we see this one. Yeah, for me it's too much rotation. So it should be 1. A bit less spacing. Padding 2. A different aspect ratio. Maybe for the height in the welcome, maybe it should be 50-50, where I have it free. One half of the screen. origin bottom may need a numeric value. Why do you think so? I know that origin bottom can be numeric as well, but bottom itself should work. The problem is that if I was thinking about doing like a pixel, but it's going to move together with an animated value, but it should be somewhere here, like, so it shouldn't move, or it should be replaced back. I don't know. It's interesting. But yeah, I think this works nicely. Whew, good. Let's me do git add git commit -m rotation. I don't have. Where is the button? And I think the last step on this screen, on this animation screen, is to change the background of a screen with the picture that is being highlighted in the scroll view here. For that to happen, in the whole Marquee list, we need to, from knowing the scroll position, we need to understand which item is currently visible. That's why I'm going to use a use animated reaction, and this is similar to a use effect, but it works on animation value, on shared values, and it can react to something happening on a shared value. The way it works is, first we're going to return the scroll.value in the first function, and in the second function, let me import the use animated reaction here. And in the second function, we're gonna get the value of that scroll, and I can do console log scroll or value. So prepare React and dependency. I don't need the scroll.value as dependency. I don't think I need it. So let me check here. Yes, we have the scroll view here, the scroll. Now, to understand which item is currently visible, we need to, first of all, in a similar way as we did here for the position, we divided it by the container width. We need to do the same here to make sure that we bound the scroll value, for example, const normalized scroll equal to value and the remainder from the division with container width. Now that is going to go to these values, and when it's going to go too high, it's going to come back from 0, hopefully. Let me help it. Okay, as you saw, here it goes from a large value back to normal. Now, knowing the normalized value, I can take const active index is equal to, I think it's this one, normalized scroll divided by item width. And then we just take the floor value. So if I reload, this is 0. That means that says that the current visible item is 0. If I keep scrolling slowly, as the second item comes closer to the left, or actually when it starts going behind the left, it moves to 1. So it works well, but it should trigger this when the item comes somewhere in the center of the screen, not when it comes to the left of the screen. So what we need to do here is normalized scroll. Should I do minus half of the screen? Minus half of the screen. No, I think it's minus half. It's this one. Where is it? Minus screen width minus item width divided by 2. we think it considers when it goes behind this line, it considers the active. What we need to do is we don't need to move it in the middle of a screen, because in that case, this is going to be considered the active line. It should be moved when the center of the item is in the middle of a screen. When the center of the item is in the middle of a screen, which means that this line will move here, which is half of the screen minus half of the item, or screen width minus item width divided by 2. That's how I understand. That's probably why we needed it here. And this is going to go into the normalized scroll, I guess. Minus or plus, I don't know. We're gonna check. Reload, this is -1. Then it should be plus. Normalized scroll plus this one. Reload, this is 0. And as soon as the second item crosses the center, it should say 1. The center of the second item. Somewhere here. 1. As you can see, here it's 0, here it's 1. Here it's 0, here it's 1. But yeah, I think that's good. Maybe even it should be faster. I would say maybe even here it should start, which means that the left of the item crosses the half of the screen, which can be accomplished by plus half of the screen without item width. So if the left crosses half of the screen width, 0, 0, 0, and as we cross here, it's already 1. And if we go back, it's 0. Yeah, I think this one is a little bit better. Like, which one is more on the screen? Here is 0, here it's 1. 0, 1. Yeah, I'll leave it like this. And what do we need to do with this active index? We need to... Let's store it in a state, I guess. Const state, or yeah, active index. And what we want to do is set active index with this active index. The thing is that this is going to throw an error because animated reaction is a worklet. It runs on the UI thread. The state is available only on the JavaScript thread. So we're trying to call a JavaScript function from a UI thread. This is not possible and it crashes the application. But to solve it, we can call a function run on JS, and then as the second parameter, we give it here, and the parameters in the second set of brackets. So we say run on JS this function, and when you run it, give them this value. Let's try to see if it will work. And now because that is a state, we can even render it here as active index. I'm not sure where it's going to be displayed, but I can do that. React Native, let's do text. It's there 0, 1, and so on. I will do some class name text white. I'm not sure if you see it, but it's there and it actually works. It updates whenever the index changes. But what we actually need is not to render it on the screen. We need it in the welcome screen to know what background image to show. We have here active index. What we're gonna do is we're gonna send a callback function to our Marquee saying on index change, when our component will decide that the index changes, it's going to call this function, and this function is going to call the set active index. So I can go into Marquee and say, hey, we're gonna also receive here on index change, which is a function that should receive send the number back. And we're gonna do it here. Let's do it through a use effect. Use effect. When the active index changes, we're gonna call this function. And actually, it can be optional, and we can do here if on index change, do that. Oh, look at that. I can already see the images changing. And I'm gonna go here and set blur to 0, and we're gonna see how they change. Boom. I think they change like at the right moment when the second image comes here. And if I scroll manually, it's also going to change. Cannot read property image of undefined. That's interesting. That means that the index is larger than the number of items. Active index. Normalized scroll. Maybe I should add it here, you know, the screen width. In this value, not here. This one, I mean. And I think it should be plus. Okay, does it change on when it has to? Yeah, it still changes when it has to, but hopefully if I go very right, yeah, now it's working much better and doesn't go in a place where the index is not, it's outside the array. Nice. I love it. Perfect. Let me go ahead and go back here to what we had, 70. And this one looks so nice. Let me do a reload. Boom. Why it's not changing? Oh, I forgot this one. Perfect. Whew. I'm so happy with how this animation turned out. What do you think, guys? What do you think about the complexity? Like, is it super complex, super confusing, or did I manage to make it clear? This was update the active index. Git commit update the active index. Let me do a poll. Let me know what do you think about the animation so far. I'm wondering, and be straightforward. Like if this is still hard, if it's confusing, let me know. I'd think like how to better, maybe to cover like easier and simpler animations. But I really had fun like implementing this one. It was challenging, but it looks nice. And this is side by side with this one. Another thing that I'm wondering how it can be achieved is, as you can see at the bottom of these cards, there is content. That's not card, but there is a blur view, which is a gradient blur view. So that's interesting. Like I don't know how I would do it. A gradient blur view. What we can do is we can even change how do we display stuff here. Like if you want, you can make this component super reusable, similar to how a flat list works. We can specify here the not events but data, and then a function render item. Maybe like this is a little bit more complex, but if you want, as I said, if you want to make this component reusable and insert anything there, first of all, I'm going to change here from events to items. Back in Marquee here, let's work with items. Where else? Here, items. Let's do item and do item.id. Let's do with a question mark. Item. And here not event but items. So in this case we try to work with very generic components like item and so on. Back in the marquee item here, we're not going to receive an event but an item. And here we're going to do item.image. Good. Back in the welcome screen, what we actually want to do is we want to the marquee item here does all the animations and stuff on the animated view, but inside, like what we render, should actually be something I'm gonna copy, something that the component itself should not care about. It should come from the outside. So what it should be is similar to how we have in a flat list render item. We should have a function that will give us the item, and we should render this image, for example. Now let's go ahead and implement this render item on the marquee component here as render item like this, and it's going to send back not like this the item, but it's gonna send back the item and the index as item, any index number. Okay, now having this render item, we're gonna send it down to the marquee item itself, equal render item. And at the top here, instead of the image, we can say, hey, call the render item and send there the item that you're working with. Maybe not even here. maybe at this layer, we can work with children. Look, here, I'm going to work with the children. And children can be implemented here as props with children. This is the type. Okay, where is it? And the props with children will be imported from React. This is a little bit more advanced, so if you're confused, you don't have to do it. Keep what is working. This is just to make this component reusable. Now at the item, we will receive a children component that we have to render, and we are going to render them here inside our animated view. Now it's only thing that from the marquee component, when we loop through them, is to actually render the children, meaning that we have to open this component and call here the render item like this. Not there. Which means that we don't even need to send the item to the marquee item. Because we render it here and send it as children. Back in the marquee item here, actually, I'm going to remove item and item because they are not needed. And I think it should work. Because we specify what we want to render inside those components, inside those items, from the place where we are using the component. And it's back to working. Which means that now we don't have to look at all this code, because this code is like quite challenging, like low level and so on. But it's done simply to do this animation. When we have to work with actual cards that we want to display in this component, we don't have to mess around with all of this with active index and so on. We can work on the higher level. For example, we can add here a view, and we can add the image, and then we can add a text saying birthday party. And then this image can be absolute. This view class name is also going to be age full with full. Now this birthday party is going to be text white, and it's going to be, let's do here, items bottom or items end. No, items center and justify end. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'm going to do here a footer component. With birthday party. It says height height should be, I don't know, 24. It can be, I don't need this item center here. I will do, let me check how it's done here. Watch party. So I will do something like text to Excel, text center, and here justify center, something like that. And maybe this view is actually going to be a blur view with intensity of 50 or 20 or 1 or 10. Okay, that's good. I'm not sure if this background color works here. No, it doesn't. Absolute. Don't need the absolute. No. It's normally positioned. And maybe what I will do is I will do, instead of background, instead of here a view that will be class name full like this, and absolute. This is going to add this dark effect. So instead of doing this normal view, maybe I'm going to add a linear gradient. So there is Expo linear gradient that we can install like this, and we're gonna use it like this. You can use image background component. Yeah, I think I can use image background as well. But what's going to be the benefit compared to an absolute image? Another thing I see now is that the image has rounded, but in fact I want this component to be rounded, like this one, not the image itself. And if I add overflow hidden, it should hide the overflow. Now it's better. Now back to my linear gradient experiment that I want you to try. If I go ahead here and import linear gradient and change, where is it? This view to a linear gradient like this. I will comment out this view. And it's going to be, let's do style sheet. There is style sheet dot. Look, if I import style sheet, there is an absolute fill helper that will do absolute and will fill the whole view. So if I have 0 here, that's going to be something like that. If I do red here, okay, the bottom is red. I need the other way around. I need this one here and transparent on the top, like that. Maybe here, like even 1. No, 1, no, 8. And maybe not like transparent, or I would need another option here, like, I don't know, 6 or something like that. If I do 4, it doesn't make sense because that's normal, but I wanted more at the bottom and a bit less to the top. I think that's what I was looking for. And if I do back to 20 intensity, it's better. It's not exactly what they have here, because as I look here, they have a linear gradient blur view, but it might help. I don't know if it helps, but yeah, it helps. It definitely helps. Okay, so this is what we have now. But the cool thing is that, as you can see, we are handling this at this layer. And what we can actually do is we can say that this becomes its own component called event card.tsx, which is going to be export default event card. And what we're going to render is this view from here. We need to import a lot of stuff here. Import view, text, style sheet, blur view, linear gradient. And we're going to receive here event of type, probably any. So we're going to replace item with event, because in this case, we're working with an event. So it's good to be specific, not item, because it's an event card. And back in the welcome here, in the render item, we can say event card that we are going to import from our components and simply render this one. Now, super clean, just this component handles the whole part at the top. We send an array of items, we tell how should one item be rendered, and it does the job. And also listens for this one and sets it as the background. Perfection, that's what I call perfection. So now, like, it depends. Like, if you want to work on the event card, you go to event card. If you want to work on the component, the marquee component, you go here. And I would also encourage you to split this one in two parts, in the marquee and marquee item. Oh, by the way, I know that like everything should work perfectly except one simple problem. And the problem is at the beginning, if you go this way, oh, it even crashes the application. But if you go this way, there are no items there. So in this direction, you can go as much left as possible, but in the other way, no. So not sure if it's, I think it should be super easy to fix it with some, if my head is going to, my brain is going to brain today. Because it's kind of the same, but in the other direction. What do you think? Again, like on the right, we can scroll like for 10 years and it's going to work. On the left, it cannot scroll more than the beginning. The other way around. I always confuse left with right. That's something normal. So let's go to Marquee here. Let me think. Because if we go here, scroll goes in positive, like from 0 to 1 to 3. If we go the other way, the scroll goes into negatives. Should it be, should we take the absolute value and not the sign value? So if it's negative, should we take it with positive? Will it have a weird behavior or not? I think it will have a weird behavior. Because if I go scroll here and for example, here, if I do scroll value minus, no, the scroll should go in the other direction, but probably how we work with it here, for example, scroll, the position. Do we take here the absolute value of the scroll? Let's see what's going to happen if I do map.absolute. And map.absolute is going to simply ignore the sign. So in this direction, everything should work as it was working, but in the other direction, what's going to happen? I don't even know. Yeah. If I try to, if I try to scroll in this direction, it's going to go all the way good until the beginning, and then it's going to revert the scroll direction. So map abs here doesn't work. But where will it work? Container width plus shift position. Because width divided by container width. This divided by container width in my diagram is in a way only working on this part. So it's only adding like a part here. So if it's too much there, percentage is going to move it here. But it's not working on the other way. Like we do not have a stop here, meaning that what should happen? Meaning the items more than this part, like this 4, for example, should actually go here in this situation. So, yeah. In our case, we only have this part. We do not have this part. I believe. So the position, container width, we cut it there. Ooh. Anyone has any ideas? It's a bit challenging. So as I was saying, and it's confusing because the scroll is in the positive direction and then the position will reverse it. So yeah, like if we do not consider the shift, like let me put it here, like the box is like this because we do not have a shift. This one is like this. And if we add the shift, position plus shift, position plus shift, meaning it goes here by default. And if initial position, oh, that's at the end, it works like this, it calculates everything and then it shifts. So what would be the calculation? If it's no. You can even hear like how how my brain squeaks. The position. Minus scroll view divided by that one. It stops there, but on the other side it doesn't stop. How to stop it? If we start moving this way, the position, the initial position plus scroll is this one. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna figure it out today. If you have a solution for this, and here I'm talking about covering the situation when we scroll backwards, I want the previous items to come here because it works in one direction. We can go, it works in the backwards as well, but when the scroll goes from positive to negative, it doesn't work. Yeah, like the thing is that it works, like the items are moved. So I think I'm not correct when I say that I have only one. I think I actually have two, because otherwise, from if I go all like a lot to the right and then try to go to the left, it would crash. But for me, it doesn't crash. Items are moved back. The only edge case is when scroll goes into negative. Usually scroll is positive, but when scroll goes into negative, going into the negative, in that case it crashes. So scroll, if scroll is negative, if scroll is negative, we should do something here. Initial position, if this one, where did I put the math.abs? Because I still kind of have a feeling that it should be here. Maybe I put it just on the scroll value, but it should be here. Initial position minus scroll value. It's the other way of ABS. Like it should always be negative. So maybe it's -1 multiplied by ABS. Let's go. This is way better. Oh, give me 1 second, guys. I need to take a call and I'll be back and we continue. We have around 40 more minutes to see what to implement. So I'm gonna be back. Hello guys, so here we are. What happened here? Have you seen like a lot of animations? So something is happening, as you can see. Something is happening. Items are on the other end. If it's negative, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it like this and figure it out maybe later. I think I'm in the right direction. Maybe I need to do a if statement. If it's in negative, I should maybe shift it like to the right, because we saw that with that one it kind of actually worked. But anyway, like something there is not right. But like this, everything is working perfect. Amazing, I love it. Are we going to create the other screens or just the initial? Today I wanted really to focus on this animation and I wanted to explain it really well. That's why we are kind of closing to the end of this live stream, but a lot of you said that you are interested in building this application as a whole. So let me see, and most probably next week I'm going to prepare you the second part where we're going to do the rest of the screens and the backend. Now let me do here reusable marquee component git add. And maybe now, as we have around 30 more minutes maximum, maybe we can work on some of the screens that we're gonna need. That way is going to help us work only on the backend next time. So the other screens that we need, I have them here. So this is the onboarding screen. After that, if you press on the create an event, you are going to be redirected to this screen where you can create an event that you're hosting. So let's try to build this one. For that, I'm going to create a new file called create.tsx, and let's export a function that will render our create screen. Let's import the view on the text. And what I'm going to do is from the welcome screen, when I press on this button, I'm not going to do, I'm going to do on button press. And I'm not going to change anything with the index, but I'm going to do router.push/create. We can import this router from where? From React, from Expo router. I don't see it. Anyone sees router? No. Let's do it. Import router from Expo router. And now if I press create an event, we are here. From the layout, I'm going to duplicate this tag.screen and also update the layout of our create screen. It's also not going to have a header, as we see here, because it's going to have just a button. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to check it. It's also going to be a presentation model. So let me open invites. If I do create event, yes, it's also coming as a model. So presentation full screen model. I'm going to reload. Here is the create an event. If I press, it comes like this. Perfect. For the beginning, it has like this crazy gradient. We can do that by going into the create and using the linear gradient. Import linear gradient from Expo linear gradient. Come on, linear gradient. Why it doesn't want to work like this? I will render this linear gradient here. I will say that the colors, something like that, I don't know, red, and the style is going to be, again, style sheet dot absolute fill. This way it's going to be on the full screen. Now that I'm working on the create screen, from the index, I'm not going to redirect to welcome now. I'm going to actually redirect to create so that I always land on this screen. Back in my create, I need to import style sheet from React Native. Style sheet. And I need to do absolute fill. This view, I need to say, hey, class name flex1. Good. The colors that it goes from, let me try to use AI here to see if it can give me some kind of these colors. Let's do L, not L, K. Update the gradient colors to go from red to pink, purple, and dark blue. Let's see. This is the colors that is suggested, and if I accept it, that's going to be the one. That pink doesn't look very good, but if I just change it like this, I think it's almost the same as here, so I'm okay with this. Perfect. Now at the top there is the buttons. To make sure that they are in the safe area, I'm going to use a safe area view imported from safe area context. At the top, let's do header. And the header is going to be a view that is going to have two things. The button with an icon and this button preview. For the icon button, I'm going to do, let's do expo vector icon. And let's find the close. And design, is it going to be good? Like what style it is? Quite bold. So quite bold. I'm going to do then Unicons, this one. So in the header, I'm going to render this one. I will import it from expo vector icons. And let me check if I can give it a class name, bgrad. Yeah, I can. So I will do bg gray, something like, not even gray, but this one, zinc. And why is it taking all the space? I don't know. But I'm going to have there a button preview. So a pressable with a text preview. Let's make sure to import pressable from React Native. And here we have it. This view, I'm going to give it a class name flex row to put the items in the same row. Forming a row, now is better. And let's do justify between to put them on two other ends of a screen. I'm also going to give it a padding, but I'm thinking, should I give it at the header level or at the safe area view level? Because I can do it here as padding 4, like this. And put the text create also here, which I don't need now. Anyway, back here to the icon. The icon is going to be /20 because it's very lightly visible, or 40 it's better. And rounded full, like this. And maybe P2, P4. Okay, P4 is too much. P2 is better. And the color of the icon should be white. Similar? Maybe 30 here. Anyway, when we press on this icon, so on press, or maybe we can put it into a link, or no, it should be on press. On press, what should happen is we should do router.back. Let's import router from Expo router. And if I press now, nothing is going to happen because we cannot go back. But if I go to the index and actually go back to starting from welcome screen, I'm on the welcome screen. I do create an event. Why in this case the safe area view doesn't work? What's up with the safe area view? I'll try another approach by taking the use safe area insets, which gives us the top and bottom. So the amount of space at the top and bottom. Maybe I will take this top, and instead of using safe area view, I'll do a normal view. But I'm going to do style equal padding top and padding bottom. So now if I do create event, now it works. Okay, that's better. Yeah, even though not. And if I do X, it's going to go back. Perfect. Love it. I see now like a couple of pixels that the blur view is not covering, and it's bothering me so much, but I'm gonna try to ignore it. Anyway, back here, the pressable, most probably here, is going to be enabled sometimes. So pressable is going to have a class name rounded full, background zinc, but text is going to be text white, padding X 4 or even 6, padding 4 or 3, and the text is going to be bold, font bold, something like that. Actually, wait a second, it's a bit different. Here it's zinc, maybe 200. And the text is text zinc 900. And here maybe white actually. And if it's not enabled, it can be white 40. Yeah, something like that. But I'll keep it as enable, like this. Okay. Now, what else do we have here? We're gonna have the add background here, but then we're gonna have some boxes where we're gonna be able to write some inputs. For example, let me do it like this. So after the header, we're gonna have a component image picker for background. This is going to be a view, and inside the view we're gonna have an icon. Let's try to ask the AI to say render an image icon from Expo vector icon. Let's see. Okay, but it should be white. It should be color. Can I do RGBA here? 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, and I can do here 0.5 to be transparent. Yes. So the color, I think it's going to be, is it 255 white, 255 and 255? And then 0.5 to be semi-transparent, maybe 0.7. Yeah, that's good. So this view, class name height 40 with full rounded. No, it doesn't have to be rounded, and it doesn't have to have a background. It just has the items to be centered, and the justify center as well. Okay, that's good. I'll do another button below this one saying add background. I will add a gap for here to add spacing between them. And for the background, I'm going to do, like as you can see here, it's a very, it's a gray or it's a black, background black /10. And the font is white /50, no, /90, something like this. Think I like it. Not gonna waste time on the background of the icon. I'm gonna move forward, maybe just increase the size of it, like to 42. And maybe even the size of this one, 64. Yeah, perfect. And the next one is going to be this component that we see here for the event title, date, and location. So let's go next for event inputs. So we're going to have a view, and inside the view, we're going to have a couple of rows. So the first one, let's first of all do class name flex1. Let's do a background black 10%. I will do a width full and a height. Let's do some random number here because later we're going to adjust it. Where is it? With full height 72. I don't need a flex, probably. Yes. Okay. Good. This 100 is gonna go to 10, maybe 15. Maybe it's actually going to be a blur view. Or does it make sense to be a blur view? Yeah, probably. So let's do it as a blur view with intensity, I don't think 100, but an intensity of 10 is going to be good. Maybe 20, maybe 10 is good. And in this case, background black doesn't work. Maybe I'm going to do a view, which is going to be this black background. BG black 20, and I'm going to wrap it around everything here. And the padding is not going to be here, but on this one internal. Okay, and it's going to be flex 1. Perfect. Now this one is going to have rounded 2XL and overflow hidden. Maybe even like 4XL. Do we have 5XL? 6. I need more. Like, why 3 is the maximum? Hidden. Wait a second. 3. Do we have 4? No. Do we have 5? No. Do we have 6? No. So 3 is maximum. Okay. I will do a shadow 2XL. I don't need the color for the shadow. Create an event. Shadow large, medium. Why it's not applied? I don't see it. Because overflow hidden. Oh boy. Maybe we need another view on top that is going to take care of a shadow. Class name shadow. Okay, now it's better. But I don't know if it has shadow. Actually, it doesn't have shadow. So I'm gonna remove it. But it actually looks really nice to have it. Maybe large. Maybe X2XL. Large. Let's keep it like this. And it has like the borders. So the blur view that has the rounded has border and border something like gray, but I like the, how is it called? I was using another zinc 500. Should be lighter, 300, 200. But this border is super tough. Border slash thin. I need like 0.5. No, it doesn't work. I can apply it through style by saying border style sheet dot hairline width. Border width. Okay, now it's good. And maybe this zinc like should be like this. Should it be semi-transparent? It's almost white. Zinc 200, 300, gray, purple, 400. Border white. Okay, white and 50% shadow kind of looks good. Maybe even 30. And what if I do border with 1? It's too much, right? But if I do 10% visibility or 15% visibility? I think this is good, so I don't need the style. Maybe I can do simply border here, which apply border 1 and 15% white border. I can pass border 1 pixels, but that's the hairline width. It's even smaller than 1 pixels. So I don't know exactly what value is that, but it's the smallest width that you can have for border. Anyway, we have here this one. What we need is some inputs. Let's go ahead and define the first input. Instead of this event details, we're gonna have a text input. The text input was imported for me from here, and let's go ahead and give it a placeholder. And the placeholder is event title. Event title. The placeholder is super small. I can give it like a placeholder text color. If I do white here, is it gonna change? Yes. So I will give it a gray, a light gray, something like that. You can also play with transparency here as well. What I want to do is let's play a little bit with class name here to style it. I'll start with a background red just to see where it is. Okay, that's good. When I type something, I want it to be centered. So can I do here text center? I think I can. Can I do here text 2XL because it's super large, even like 4XL? Good. And I think that should be it. If I remove a background, light gray, I don't really like the light gray. I don't know. I can do it like this. I can even try to pick the color, which I'm not sure if it's with transparency or it's just a color. I believe it's with transparency. So maybe here RGB like this. Yeah, that's good. Font bold. Event title. And it's a different font. It's a rounded font. I'm not gonna do that now, but if I type here, go and type here, I need to say that the text should be white. White. So if I type, okay, that's good. Now we need a view that is going to be this row for this input. This view is going to have a border on the bottom. It's going to have class name, border bottom, and border color like this. To make sure that this border connects with our one, I'm not gonna have any padding here. I'm gonna have it in this situation like this, maybe even 8. Perfect. And now it's time to do the same once more time, but this time for another input. And in this case, the input is going to be date and time. So what's going to be there? An icon, date and time. Let's do render a calendar icon. Okay, let's accept it. And below is going to be date and time. So a text saying date and time. Perfect. I'm going to put them at this layer. I'm going to say items center and gap 4. Good. Here, I don't think I need text small. Font medium, it's okay. Text wide 50. I think it's text wide actually 90 or 80. And the icon is that's good. Maybe not so much spacing as there. 4 is enough. And let's do padding for here and only padding y8 to be the same amount on the left. Okay, and we can do once more time here. And I'm going to remove the height 72 here on the whole container because it should be what? Height 72. I don't know, flex 1? No. Come on. Yeah, like this. Okay, and the last one is location. The last one is location. Pin. Good. That's it. That's the screen. And maybe the header or the image picker here should be bigger. Maybe it should be 1/2 of a screen. Maybe. That's not bad. And with that, we have created this one here. Perfect. Lastly, we would need to store things like in the state, for example, the title, the date, and the location. For the title, it's super easy because the title is a text input and we can give here value title on change set title. But for the date and location, for date we need the date picker, and for location we would need to ask for the user's location or to okay, someone here wants to play with me. 1 second. Benji, come. No, you don't want? Okay, he ran away. All right, so this is what we managed to do today. Well, I'm super proud of our animation here. It looks really amazing and it works really well. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use it in a lot of my projects that I'm going to build. Feel free to use it as well. I'm going to leave a source code of a project in the description below. Today, I want it to be more about animations. I cannot promise, but maybe next week we're gonna continue this project. Let me know in the comments if you want us to do that, to continue it and to add functionality, to add a backend to make it an actual invites clone. Not only beautiful, but actually functional as well. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Make sure to check out React Native Mastery. Go ahead to notjust.dev/React Native Mastery if you're on your journey to master React Native, if you want to build applications, if you have ideas of mobile applications, if you want to start your own projects. This is the resource you need in order to get all the knowledge to be able to confidently build React Native applications with all the modern tech stack that is going to be easy to get started with, and it's going to be scalable in future when you grow your applications. So I'll see you inside in React Native Mastery, and I'll see you next week here on YouTube. If you enjoy this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye.